Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into Lessons Learned, A Good Student's Journey by Victor Odasnac.
An interesting title.
It is, and it's not your typical story about getting straight A's, though.
Oh,
This memoir, it's more about rethinking what it even means to be a good student, And it all starts in a pretty unexpected way.
okay. I'm intrigued.
Victor accidentally skips kindergarten.
What? How's that even possible?
Well, he was taller than average for his age.
I see.
So the principal just mistakenly put him straight into first grade. His parents, they had no idea.
That's hilarious. So did he just breeze through first grade then?
Well, not quite. They eventually figured it out, and he ended up repeating the grade.
Oh, wow.
But not because he was failing or anything.
Okay.
His parents insisted on it.
Interesting. So I guess that kind of sets the stage for this whole idea of not following a traditional path to being a good student, right?
Exactly. And as Victor gets older, school kind of takes a back seat for a while.
Uh-huh.
He's way more into playing in the streets with his friends than hitting the books.
I mean, that sounds pretty normal for a kid, right?
Oh, absolutely. But then comes this turning point, a real shift for him in fourth grade.
Okay, what happened?
He gets into this street fight with a classmate, and he loses.
Ooh.
And around the same time, he gets this new teacher.
Okay.
And this teacher has this really clever system of giving daily quizzes.
Daily quizzes. That sounds intense.
It was. But get this, Victor, he starts actually studying to avoid the embarrassment of doing badly on those quizzes.
Uh-huh. So it wasn't about getting good grades for their own sake?
Nope. It was about impressing his new teacher, who he describes as lovely in the book.
I love that. So the motivation was, let's say, a little less academic and a little more, well, personal.
Exactly. And this is where those good study habits start forming for him, even if it wasn't for the purest of reasons.
That's a great point. Sometimes the initial spark for learning comes from a place you wouldn't expect.
Right. And speaking of inspiring figures, Victor dedicates a big chunk of the book to his teachers.
I can imagine. Teachers can have such a huge impact.
Totally. Like Veronica, his fourth grade teacher, she really stands out.
What made her so special?
She had this knack for making learning fun.
Oh, that's so important.
Right. She turned lessons into games and competitions.
That's brilliant. I bet the kids loved that.
They did. It wasn't just about making things easy, though. Victor talks about how she changed the whole feeling around school.
In what way?
Like, instead of thinking, oh, I have to go to school, it became, I get to go to school.
Interesting. So it's about shifting that internal dialogue, making it something positive.
Exactly. And he talks about another teacher, Rafa, his high school physics teacher.
Okay, what was Rafa like?
Completely different approach. Rafa was all about the why behind things. Instead of drilling formulas into their heads, he had them actually measuring distances, speeds, accelerations, all that stuff.
Oh, so they were experiencing the concepts firsthand.
Exactly. So by the time they got to the equations, the understanding was already there.
That makes so much sense. It's like, why are we doing this? What does it even mean?
Right. It makes you wonder how many of us were just handed formulas without really getting the underlying principles.
Absolutely. I think that's a common experience, unfortunately.
It is. And Victor learned something similar from another teacher, Don Pablo, his strict English teacher.
Strict English teacher. That sounds intimidating.
It was. Don Pablo had this motto, English isn't studied. You either know it or you don't.
Wow, that's a pretty strong statement.
It is, but what Victor took away from him was the value of mastery.
So not just learning for the test, but learning for life.
Exactly. And it's interesting because while Don Pablo's methods might seem a little old school, there's something to be said for that deep, lasting knowledge that comes from really rigorous practice.
It does make you think about what teaching styles have really stuck with you and how they've shaped the way you approach learning.
Definitely. Now, it's not all about the classroom in the book. Victor also talks a lot about life outside school, especially his experiences playing youth soccer.
Oh, soccer. Did he have any, memorable moments on the field?
Oh, he does. He tells this hilarious story about a disastrous penalty kick in the Rico Perez youth tournament final.
A final. Okay, the stakes are high.
Right. Picture this. A packed stadium, Victor's team's in the final, and he's chosen to take the penalty kick.
No pressure, right?
The coach had told them to take this long run-up before kicking.
Okay.
So Victor starts running this super long run-up, everyone's watching, and he misses the goal completely. The ball goes flying off target.
Oh, no. In front of everyone.
It gets worse.
What? How could it get worse?
The referee hadn't blown the whistle yet.
You're kidding. So he had another chance.
He did, but he was still so nervous that he kicked the ball even farther off target the second time.
That's incredible. Poor guy.
It became this local legend, this story everyone told about the kid who missed the penalty kick twice.
Oh, I can imagine. But I guess there's always a lesson to be learned, even from those embarrassing moments.
And Victor does. He extracts 3 really valuable lessons from that experience.
I'm all ears. Let's hear them.
First, he realized that his lack of belief in himself, like not truly visualizing scoring, contributed to the miss.
That makes sense. Mindset plays a huge role.
Right. And second, he learned that blindly following instructions without understanding the why can lead to disaster.
Sometimes you need to question things, not just do what you're told.
Exactly. And finally, he realized that focusing on his own fear of failure instead of the team was detrimental.
Hmm. Interesting. It's about shifting that focus outward towards a shared goal.
So even in what seems like a failure, there are these valuable lessons hidden there.
Absolutely. But you have to be willing to look for them, right? To examine the experience and ask, okay, what can I learn from this?
Exactly. It takes self-awareness, for sure.
And now, as Victor moves into adolescence, he hits another turning point.
Okay, what happens in high school?
It's all about navigating those tricky social dynamics, peer pressure, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that can be tough.
So his friends start smoking in the cafeteria,
Oh, no.
and Victor, he doesn't want to give in to that pressure.
Good for him.
So he makes this difficult decision to distance himself from that group.
That makes courage, especially at that age.
It does, and it shows that staying true to yourself sometimes means walking away from situations that compromise your values.
And then, get this, in university, Victor and his engineering buddies decide to enroll in a fine arts class.
Engineering and fine arts, that's an interesting combination. What prompted that?
Their reason was to improve the gender ratio in their classes.
Oh, that's clever, and probably a lot more fun than some of those engineering lectures.
Right, so there they are, these engineering students learning to draw in charcoal, surrounded by art students.
I can picture it. Did they actually produce any art?
For their final project, they decided to stage a theatrical performance.
A performance. What was it about?
It was about the impact of technology on human connection.
Wow, that's deep.
And guess what? They were a hit. The art students loved it.
That's fantastic. It just goes to show that sometimes the most unexpected approaches can lead to the most interesting results, right?
Exactly. It highlights this theme in the book, this idea of embracing diverse learning experiences.
It's not always about sticking to your lane. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from venturing outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely. Now, this brings us to Victor's son, Javier.
Oh, does Javier have a learning journey of his own?
He does, and it leads to this fascinating discussion about the science behind how we learn.
Okay, tell me more.
Javier had what some might call a selective memory.
Meaning?
Anything that didn't really grab his interest was like pulling teeth to get him to remember.
I see.
But then he becomes completely obsessed with football.
Football. Okay.
And suddenly he can remember like hundreds of players, names, their stats, even the brands of boots they wear.
Wow, that's quite a transformation.
It is, and it gets Victor thinking about the role of dopamine in learning.
Dopamine, the feel-good chemical, right?
Exactly. Turns out that when we find something enjoyable, our brains release dopamine, and that actually strengthens the connections in our brain related to memory.
So that's where we tend to remember things that excite us or surprise us or make us feel good.
Right, and that's the basis of what Victor calls the virtuous circle of learning.
Okay, break that down for me.
It has 3 stages: motivation, practice, and results.
Got it. So you need that initial spark of interest? That's the motivation.
Right. Then, once you're motivated, you put in the practice, the actual work of learning and strengthening those neural pathways.
And that makes it easier to remember the information and actually use those skills.
Exactly. And this is where good habits come in, those habits that turn those actions into almost automatic responses.
Makes sense. And then the results you achieve feed back into your motivation, creating that positive feedback loop.
You got it. You feel good about your progress, which makes you want to learn more, and that leads to even better results.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is. But there's a bit of a catch.
What's that?
Victor also talks about the potential downsides of instant gratification.
Oh, that makes sense. Too much of a good thing can be bad, right?
He shares this anecdote about a mouse in an experiment, kind of disturbing but really illuminating.
Okay, what happened to the mouse?
The mouse could press a lever to get a hit of dopamine, pure pleasure, right?
Directly to the brain.
Pretty much. And the pleasure was so immediate and intense that the mouse became addicted to the lever.
Oh, no.
It completely neglected its basic need for food and eventually died of starvation.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
It is, and it's a stark reminder of how easy it is to get hooked on those quick hits of dopamine, even if it's detrimental in the long run.
Like, think about social media notifications, video games, even junk food.
Exactly. They all provide that instant gratification, but often at the expense of more meaningful pursuits.
That's a crucial point for parents and educators, isn't it?
It is. We need to teach kids how to delay gratification, how to prioritize work over pleasure, so they can develop the self-control needed to achieve their long-term goals.
It's about finding that balance, right? We don't want to eliminate pleasure altogether, but we need to make sure it doesn't hijack our motivation and derail our progress.
Exactly. And this leads us to one of the most powerful concepts in the book. Victor's personal motto, ICE.
ICE. What does that stand for?
Illusion, confidence, and energy.
Interesting. Simple, but it sounds like it packs a punch.
It does. Each element represents a key ingredient for achieving any goal, really.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit.
So, illusion refers to having this clear vision of what you want to achieve.
It's that spark of excitement, that dream that keeps you motivated and moving forward.
Exactly. Confidence is about believing in your ability to make that vision a reality, silencing those inner doubts, and trusting your capabilities.
And energy is the fuel that keeps you going, especially when things get tough. The perseverance, the grit, the willingness to push through obstacles and keep striving toward your goal.
You got it. And it's fascinating how this simple acronym aligns perfectly with the research on success.
How so?
Paul Tuff, in his book How Children Succeed, identifies optimism, self-control, and perseverance as key factors in a child's long-term success.
And those map perfectly onto Victor's ICE framework.
Exactly. And Victor uses a personal story to illustrate this concept. As a teenager, he was told he would need braces for his teeth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but he was super self-conscious about wearing braces.
Understandable, especially as a teenager.
So instead, he developed this habit of pushing his jaw forward to align his teeth.
What? Did that actually work?
It did. He never needed braces.
That's incredible.
And now, people actually compliment him on his teeth. It's a testament to the power of belief and consistent effort.
It's a remarkable example of how our mindset can shape our reality.
Right. And speaking of overcoming challenges, Victor talks about the infamous Spanish university entrance exam, this huge make-or-break moment for students back in his day.
Oh, I've heard about those exams. They're notoriously difficult.
They are. He had this rigorous study plan, all prepped and ready.
Okay.
But a few days before the exam, he gets hit with these waves of nerves and doubts.
Oh, that's the worst. When all that preparation suddenly feels like it's not enough.
Exactly. So what does he do? He throws out the study plan.
What? He just stopped studying altogether?
He did.
Wow, that's a bold move.
He realized cramming at the last minute would just make his anxiety worse.
That makes sense. It's about trusting the process, the work you've already put in.
Exactly. He decided to trust that he already knew the material and just focus on staying calm and collected.
So how did it go? Did that strategy work?
His results were fascinating. He aced the subjects he really believed he had mastered, like math, physics, English. His scores were lower in subjects where he felt less confident, like biology and philosophy.
It makes you wonder if it was a difference in knowledge or a difference in belief,
It does. Like, did his confidence or lack of it actually impact his performance?
It's a great question. It circles back to that idea of making learning enjoyable and engaging.
Right. If you genuinely connect with the material, it's more likely to stick with you, even under pressure.
It's not just about memorizing facts. It's about developing a deep understanding, a sense of mastery.
Exactly. And Victor ends this section by acknowledging that good grades don't guarantee happiness or success in life, which I think is an important point.
Absolutely. It's about so much more than that.
He talks about how school, at least in his day, didn't necessarily prepare students for the real world.
That's a common critique of traditional education.
It is, but he sees things changing with his own kids' education.
In what way?
There's more emphasis on teamwork, project-based learning, and even emotional intelligence.
Oh, that's encouraging.
It suggests a more holistic approach, right? Recognizing that success is about more than just academics.
Exactly. It's about developing the whole person, their intellect, their emotions, their social skills.
And Victor isn't just observing this shift. He's actively encouraging it.
How so?
He shares this anecdote about the composer Verdi, who ended his career filled with dramatic operas with a comedy called Falstaff.
Verdi ending with a comedy. That's unexpected.
It is, and the final chorus celebrates life with this line, Tutto nel mondo è burla, which translates to everything in the world is a jest.
What a delightful way to end a career. It speaks to the importance of approaching life and learning with a sense of playfulness, of joy.
Exactly, and that's the attitude Victor encourages towards education.
It's an adventure, not a chore.
Exactly. He sees the pursuit of knowledge as this exciting journey, not a burden.
And he believes anyone can achieve excellence with enough motivation.
Right. The key is learning to enjoy the journey.
It's a beautiful sentiment, and it aligns perfectly with what we're all about here on The Deep Dive.
Right. Finding those haha moments, those sparks of insight that make learning a truly enriching experience.
Speaking of aha moments, did you know Victor includes these mini essays in an appendix titled From Kid to Kid?
Oh, yeah.
He offers all this practical advice on a bunch of different topics.
Making learning more enjoyable, overcoming math anxiety, even attracting luck.
Attracting luck. Now that's interesting.
It is. He argues that the stories we tell ourselves actually shape our reality.
Okay, how so?
He gives the example of someone who's always saying, the market is bad, or I'm not good at math.
Right, those negative self-talk loops.
Exactly. He suggests that by repeating those narratives, we're actually more likely to experience those
Like
outcomes.
we're programming our brains for failure.
It's a powerful reminder of the impact our mindset can have on our experiences.
It's not about denying reality, but about choosing to focus on possibilities instead of limitations.
Right. And he encourages us to challenge those negative narratives and replace them with more positive ones.
So instead of saying, I'm not good at math, you might say, I'm learning to appreciate the logic of math or something like that.
Exactly. It's about shifting that internal dialogue, focusing on growth and possibility.
Makes sense. And he also has advice on learning English, right?
He does. He shares how he learned English fluently without living abroad or going to a bilingual school.
Impressive. What was his secret?
He made it a habit to practice whenever he could, read in English daily, watched movies and series in their original language.
So it's that consistency over intensity approach again.
Right. Small daily actions can lead to significant progress over time.
It's not about finding huge chunks of time. It's about integrating learning into your everyday life.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that this applies to anything we want to learn, whether it's a language, a musical instrument, a professional skill, whatever.
Consistency is key.
And Victor also has some interesting insights on finding your path to excellence.
Okay, I'm curious to hear about this.
He believes it's at the intersection of three things: what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Finding that sweet spot where your passion, talent, and purpose all come together.
Exactly. It's not just about chasing a paycheck or following the crowd. It's about aligning your work with something that feels truly meaningful and fulfilling.
And once you find that sweet spot, what's next?
Victor says to be bold. Say no to everything else and dedicate yourself fully to becoming the best at it.
That's a powerful message. It's about having the courage to pursue your true calling, even if it means going against the grain or stepping outside your comfort zone.
It's about making a conscious choice to focus your time and energy on what truly matters.
Now, I know Victor also addresses some of the challenges of the future, especially when it comes to work.
He does. He dedicates a whole section to the future of work, and it's thought-provoking, maybe even a bit unsettling.
I can imagine. What does he say?
He argues that many of our jobs are going to disappear.
Oh, no, because of a lack of work.
No, not that, because of automation and the rapid pace of technological advancement.
So, robots taking over.
It's a reality we can't really ignore.
It's definitely a concern for a lot of people.
But here's the thing. Victor doesn't leave us with this feeling of doom and gloom.
Okay, that's good. So what's the alternative?
He outlines the skills that will be essential for thriving in this new landscape.
The skills of the future, huh? What are they?
He identifies three key areas: learning to learn, adapting to change, and cultivating the human factor.
Learning to learn, that sounds like a meta skill.
It is. It's about embracing curiosity and developing the ability to acquire knowledge quickly and efficiently, becoming a lifelong learner.
Always adapting to new information, new technologies.
Exactly. Adapting to change is about being flexible, resilient, able to navigate uncertainty, and seeing change as an opportunity, not a threat.
Makes sense. And what about the human factor?
Those uniquely human qualities that are tough to automate.
Like what?
Empathy, imagination, creativity, communication, leadership, those sorts of things.
So while machines might excel at repetitive tasks or data analysis, they struggle with things that require emotional intelligence, creativity, and complex problem solving.
Exactly. Victor argues that these skills will become even more valuable as technology advances.
It's almost like a counterbalance to the rise of automation.
He envisions a future where human ingenuity is the driving force behind innovation.
Solving the world's problems through creativity and collaboration.
And he highlights three specific areas where this human-centered innovation will be crucial: technological, social, and artistic.
Can you elaborate on those a bit?
Technological innovation is about harnessing science and technology to create new things that improve our lives.
Practical solutions to everyday problems.
Right. Social innovation focuses on solutions to challenges like poverty, inequality, climate change, those bigger picture issues.
Finding ways to create a more just and sustainable world.
Exactly. And then artistic innovation is about using creativity and expression to connect with others, inspire change, enrich our culture.
So it's not just about practical solutions, it's about the human experience, the emotional and creative side of things.
Exactly. And Victor sees these three areas as interconnected, all contributing to a better future.
It's a holistic view, recognizing that progress requires innovation on multiple levels.
Right. And he ends this discussion with a quote from Albert Einstein. I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious.
What a great quote. It highlights that curiosity is the foundation of learning and innovation.
It's what makes us human, what will continue to set us apart in a world increasingly dominated by AI.
Victor reminds us that the future isn't something that just happens to us. We create it through our choices, our actions, and our commitment to lifelong learning.
It's a powerful message of empowerment, reminding us that we have the agency to shape our own destinies, both individually and collectively.
Welcome back to our deep dive into lessons learned, a good student's journey.
We left off talking about that future of work, remember? All those skills we'll need to thrive in this rapidly changing world.
Yeah, it was a lot to think about. And I like how Victor doesn't just paint this, gloomy picture of robots stealing everyone's jobs.
Right. He actually gives us this kind of roadmap for navigating this new landscape.
Okay, what's the roadmap look like?
It focuses on all those uniquely human qualities that, thankfully, can't be automated.
Things like creativity and critical thinking.
Exactly. He sees a future where those skills, along with emotional intelligence, become even more valuable than just, technical skills alone.
I think I'm starting to see where this is going.
He uses this really cool analogy to illustrate his point, the centaurs in the world of chess.
Centaurs. Like the mythical creatures?
Yeah, well, it's a metaphor, of course. Back in the early days of computer chess, everyone thought machines would dominate humans, no contest.
Right, that makes sense.
But something interesting happened. It wasn't just brute computational power that won out.
So what was it?
These centaurs emerged, these teams of humans and computers working together.
Oh, that's interesting.
So the humans brought the strategic thinking and intuition to the game.
Okay.
And the computers provided that raw processing power and analysis.
True partnership.
Exactly. And this hybrid approach, it ended up being way more successful than either humans or computers going it alone.
So he was the best of both worlds.
Exactly. And Victor believes the centaur model is going to be super important in the future of work.
Meaning?
We'll need to learn how to collaborate with machines, leverage their strengths while still playing to our own human strengths.
It's like a dance, finding that harmony between human and artificial intelligence.
It's a beautiful image, isn't it? And this brings us to another key theme in Victor's memoir.
Okay, what's that?
The role of mentors and guidance.
Mentors. So not just going it alone.
Exactly. He credits a lot of his success to those teachers and role models who helped him along the way.
I can definitely relate to that. Having those people who believe in you and guide you can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just academic support. He talks about the influence of his parents, how they instilled in him this love of learning and a strong work ethic.
That's so important. Those early influences can really shape who we become.
He specifically mentions 3 things his parents did really well.
Okay, I'm listening.
First, they were role models, demonstrating those values and behaviors they wanted him to emulate.
Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And Victor's father, even though he had this military background,
Okay.
he wasn't authoritarian at all.
Surprising.
He taught Victor to value respect and personal decision-making, always encouraged him to look for the positive side of every situation.
It sounds like his father understood that actions speak louder than words.
Right. And his mother, she hadn't had the opportunity to go to college herself.
Oh, wow.
But she was determined that her children would have that chance.
That's amazing.
She taught Victor about sacrifice and setting goals, not through lectures, but through her own actions.
It speaks volumes about the impact parents can have, even when they might not realize they're teaching.
It's powerful. And the third thing Victor highlights is that his parents had high expectations for him.
But not just about grades.
Not just grades. It was more about striving for excellence in whatever he pursued, like that growth mindset we talked about earlier.
Right. It's not about being naturally gifted. It's about believing in your ability to learn and grow through effort.
Exactly. And Victor tells the story that really exemplifies this growth mindset. As a teenager, he decides to learn English on his own.
Wow. On his own. No classes or anything?
Nope. He didn't have the advantage of living abroad or going to a bilingual school.
So how did he do it?
He made it a habit to practice whenever he could, read English books and newspapers every day, even started watching movies and TV shows in English with subtitles.
That's impressive. It shows real dedication.
It does, and it goes back to that idea of consistent effort, those small actions that add up over time.
It's not about overnight success. It's about those little steps, day after day.
And this approach, this idea of incremental progress, it's a big theme in the book.
It seems particularly relevant in today's world, with technology changing so rapidly.
Exactly. Victor emphasizes that.
We need to be able to adapt quickly, always be updating our skills.
And that requires a shift in mindset from, knowing to learning.
It's not about clinging to what we already know, but about being open to new information, new ideas.
Being comfortable with that constant state of learning.
And he gives some practical advice for cultivating that learning mindset. right?
He does, like developing a habit of reading widely, exploring different perspectives, having those thoughtful discussions with others.
Engaging with the world, staying curious.
Exactly. And he also talks about the importance of reflection, taking time to really process what you've learned.
Making those connections, finding those aha moments.
Right. And seeking out mentors, people who have expertise in areas you want to develop.
It's acknowledging that we never stop learning. There's always something new to discover.
Exactly. And as we go deeper into Victor's story, we encounter this recurring theme that might surprise some people.
What's that?
The role of luck.
Luck. As in good fortune.
Yeah. He has a whole chapter dedicated to exploring luck and how it connects with learning and success.
Okay, I wouldn't have expected that in a book about being a good student.
Right, it's unexpected. But Victor doesn't see luck as some, like, mystical force outside our control.
Okay, so what is it then?
He sees it as something we can cultivate through our mindset and actions.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He uses this analogy of a surfer waiting for the perfect wave.
Okay.
The surfer can't control the ocean, right?
Right.
But they can prepare themselves to recognize and ride that wave when it comes.
So being in the right place at the right time, but also being ready to seize the opportunity.
Exactly. And Victor says luck is similar. It's about being prepared, open to opportunities, and willing to take action when the moment arises.
It's not just about chance. It's about putting yourself in a position to benefit from those lucky breaks.
Right. And he also argues that the stories we tell ourselves can affect how much luck we experience.
Okay, how so?
If we're always telling ourselves, I'm so unlucky, we're more likely to focus on the negative and miss opportunities.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Exactly. Our beliefs really do shape our reality.
So it's about challenging those limiting beliefs, those negative narratives.
Victor encourages us to do that and replace them with more empowering ones.
Instead of, I'm unlucky, maybe I'm open to new possibilities, or I'm grateful for the good things in my life.
He even suggests looking for evidence of your own good fortune.
Finding those little wins.
Exactly. Shifting that perspective from why me to what can I learn from this.
Even in self-situations, there's always something to be gained.
Victor tells a story about losing his wallet to illustrate this.
Oh no, that's everyone's nightmare.
It had a lot of money in it, and he was devastated, you know? Felt like luck had totally abandoned him.
Yeah, I can imagine that feeling.
But instead of dwelling on it, he decided to see it as a challenge.
A challenge, how so?
An opportunity to grow. He focused on the steps he could take to recover.
And did he get his wallet back?
He did. And not only that, but the experience taught him some really valuable lessons.
Like what?
About responsibility, resilience, and not tying his self-worth to material possessions.
It's amazing how even those setbacks can turn into valuable learning experiences.
If we choose to see them that way, right?
Exactly. And that leads us to one of Victor's most thought-provoking ideas.
What of that?
That our biggest challenges often end up being our greatest teachers.
He argues that it's in those moments of struggle, when we feel lost or uncertain, that we have the most potential for growth.
It's like that saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor.
Exactly. It's those rough waters, the storms, those unexpected challenges that push us to adapt and grow stronger.
So it's not about avoiding challenges, it's about learning to embrace them.
He encourages us to see them as opportunities for transformation, not obstacles.
To reframe our relationship with failure. To see it as part of the process.
Exactly. And he offers some practical advice for navigating those tough times.
Like what?
Things like seeking support from mentors, connecting with others who've been through similar struggles.
Finding that community, that sense of shared experience.
And practicing self-reflection, journaling, even meditation to process emotions and gain clarity.
Taking care of our mental and emotional well-being.
And remembering that self-care is crucial. We can't help others if we're running on empty.
It's all about balance, isn't it? Taking care of ourselves so we can show up fully for the challenges and opportunities that life throws our way.
And ultimately, remembering that learning is a journey, not a destination.
There will always be new challenges, new lessons, new opportunities for growth.
And it's in those moments of uncertainty when we feel stretched and challenged that we often discover our true potential.
It's exciting, isn't it? This idea that we're constantly evolving, learning, becoming.
Absolutely. And that wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into lessons learned, a good student's journey.
We've covered a lot of ground, from lifelong learning to growth mindset to reframing our relationship with luck and failure.
And we've touched on the importance of mentorship, the role of parents, and prioritizing our well-being. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of lessons learned, a good student's journey.
It's been quite a journey so far.
It really has. We've uncovered so much about what makes a good student in the classroom and beyond.
And I've loved how Victor challenges those conventional ideas, showing us that learning is this lifelong adventure.
Absolutely. And as we enter this final stretch of our deep dive, I'm really fascinated by Victor's perspective on creativity and innovation.
Oh, me too. It's something he keeps coming back to throughout the book, emphasizing its importance in, well, every aspect of life.
He uses this really interesting metaphor to describe the creative process.
Okay, let's hear it.
The image of a pearl forming inside an oyster.
Ah, that's beautiful. I can see why he'd use that image.
Right. It captures this idea that creativity isn't always about those sudden bursts of inspiration.
It's more about nurturing an idea, letting it develop and evolve over time.
Exactly. Just like the oyster slowly layers nacre around an irritant, we often need to grapple with challenges, setback, even failures to create something truly valuable.
It's like that saying, no pain, no gain, but for creativity.
Victor calls this creative friction and argues that it's essential for real innovation.
So it's not always a smooth process.
Definitely not. It's through confronting obstacles, questioning assumptions, and experimenting that we push those boundaries and discover new possibilities.
It's about getting messy, making mistakes, and learning from them.
Victor also emphasizes playfulness and curiosity in this creative process.
Oh, I love that. Bringing back that childlike sense of wonder.
Exactly. Approaching challenges with curiosity, allowing ourselves to experiment, to play, to not be afraid of making mistakes.
It reminds me of how kids are natural innovators.
Right. They haven't developed those inhibitions that we tend to build up as adults.
Those fears of judgment and failure.
Exactly. And Victor encourages us to tap back into that childlike wonder, to not take ourselves too seriously.
To give ourselves permission to play and explore.
And to remember that creativity isn't just for artists or inventors, it's a skill that can be cultivated in any field.
Absolutely. Whether you're in business, science, education, wherever.
And he gives this great example from his own life, his decision to take that fine arts class during his engineering studies.
Oh, right. He talked about that earlier. I love that story.
Remember, his motivation wasn't exactly pure at first.
He just wanted to be around more women.
Pretty much. But what started as a bit of a lark ended up being this incredibly valuable learning experience.
They were exposed to new ways of thinking, new forms of expression, right?
Exactly. And it broadened their horizons, sparked their creativity in ways they didn't expect.
It just goes to show that sometimes stepping outside your comfort zone, even if it's for a silly reason, can lead to amazing growth.
And this leads to Victor's vision for the future of education.
Okay, I'm really interested in hearing his thoughts on this.
He believes those traditional models, with all the emphasis on memorization and standardized tests, aren't really preparing students for the challenges in the 21st century.
That's a common critique, and I think a valid one.
He argues for a shift from knowing to learning.
Giving students the tools to adapt, innovate, and solve complex problems.
Exactly. He envisions a future where education is personalized, experiential, and project-based.
So more hands-on, more focused on the individual.
Right. Allowing students to explore their passions, develop their creativity, and build real connections with the world around them.
It sounds like a much more engaging and empowering way to learn.
He also emphasizes the importance of things like emotional intelligence, resilience, and a growth mindset.
Equipping students with the skills to navigate uncertainty and embrace challenges.
Exactly. And he sees technology not as replacing teachers, but as a tool to enhance the learning experience.
Providing access to information, personalized feedback, and those opportunities for collaboration and creation.
It's an inspiring vision, one that challenges us to rethink our assumptions about education and what's possible.
It gives me hope for the future, knowing that there are people out there like Victor who are pushing for these positive changes.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into lessons learned, a good student's journey, I'm struck by just how much ground Victor covers.
It's incredible, from the science of learning to the power of mentors to the importance of mindset and creativity.
And he does it in such an engaging way, blending personal stories with research and practical advice.
It's a book that really has something for everyone, no matter where you are on your own learning journey.
It's a reminder that learning is a lifelong adventure full of twists and turns and unexpected discoveries.
And it's an invitation to embrace that adventure with curiosity, enthusiasm, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones.
So here's a final thought for you, inspired by Victor's journey. What label are you unconsciously putting on yourself? Or even on your children?
A label? What kind of label?
Are you the "I'm not good at math" person or the "I can learn anything" person? Because that label, even if it's subtle, might be shaping your whole approach to learning and life.
It's a powerful question to consider, and if Victor's book has taught us anything, it's that we have the power to rewrite those narratives and embrace a future full of possibility.
It's a beautiful way to put it. And that wraps up our deep dive into Lessons learned, a good student's journey.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this exploration.
Me too. We hope it sparked your curiosity, inspired new insights, and maybe even reignited that passion for learning.
If you're interested in learning more, we highly recommend checking out Victor's book.
It's full of humor, wisdom, and practical advice.
It's a reminder that we can all be good students.
No matter our age or where we are on our journey.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Until next time.
You've listened to our latest episode of Right Here, Right Now,